Imagine you are walking in the woods. It's winter. You pull your coat on a little tighter. You're moseying along when you hear it, a cry in the wind. And you hear something else, branches snapping in the trees above. It can't be anything you're familiar with. You start thinking of the possibilities when you see it on the branch of a tall maple, the wendigo. You let out a cry of your own and start trying to run the other way, but the wendigo is already upon you, and it is hungry. You serve as a warning story for anyone else who wishes to wander in the woods of winter. The reason I tell you this tale, the subject of my speech entirely, is to hopefully spark some interest in mythology of any culture and its monsters, and to show you how important it is to remember Native American culture. There's such little of it left. I will first talk about the wendigo by describing its mythology, then examining its real-life history, and then finally discussing the effect that this monster has had. The wendigo's mythology is utterly fascinating and very interesting. It shows a tale. It is the tale of desperation and the transformation from man into monster. The actual translation of wendigo, the word wendigo from the Algonquin languages varies depending on who you ask and what part of what region you are in. For some, it means evil spirit that devours mankind, or spirit of lonely places. For many, it means cannibal. But for those who wish to know a simple textbook definition, a wendigo is a human who has consumed the flesh of another and been transformed into an evil spirit. Another aspect of the wendigo that is utterly tied to its mythology is its physical description. The wendigo has been described as tall, very tall, around 14 feet in some cases, with razor-sharp teeth, claws, and lips that are often chewed ragged or are gone completely. They supposedly have hearts made of ice, and despite an unending hunger for human flesh, they remain emaciated. It shrieks and runs at great speeds across treetops. Its presence may be preceded by a foul odor or a sudden snowstorm. Its bones are often seen poking through its ashen flesh. According to some depictions, it has horns and fur, and others say it is completely hairless. No matter what it is, the wendigo's mythology can be tied to real-world events. It has an utterly fascinating history, and the wendigo is not just a myth, but a real terror, which had real consequences. In fact, the wendigo myth is directly tied to the deaths of many people. There have been chiefs of tribes and normal villagemen who have been killed by their fellow tribesmen due to the fear of this myth. Many are killed before they can escape and cause more damage. Some are killed of their own volition because they know of the horror that they have become. The Wendigo's myth is not just a precautionary tale. It is the existence of a real threat that became part of actual law for many tribes, such as the Ojibwa, which became inseparable from religion as a way to resolve disputes and to punish killers. The communities that share the myth of the Wendigo all experience long and harsh winters, with heavy snowfall and freezing temperatures and lack of resources. Starvation is a real fear, and this myth was used for those who had a little too much to share. Now that we can see the history of this creature, it's time to delve deeper and review the effect that this monster has had on us as a society. The Wendigo's effect stretches far beyond the oral stories of the tribe where the monster comes from. The Wendigo has in fact become a rather big staple of pop culture, appearing in shows like Supernatural, Charmed, and even in Marvel Comics. It has been in multiple movies, in some games, and even a My Little Pony episode. Other shows that it has appeared in include Hannibal and many others. Another effect of the Wendigo is called Wendigo psychosis, which is a much debated mental illness related to the myth. It is where someone feels compelled to eat human flesh. Some scientists believe that this is merely a fabrication brought on by another tenet of the Wendigo mythology. Others believe that it's a real thing and that it could have real consequences. I feel as though that that can serve as a nice appetizer for what you can find about this creature. Again, the Wendigo's mythology is very rich and very deep. The history of the Wendigo is fascinating to look into. It's affected far more people than you might think. And the effect that the Wendigo has had has been profound on us so far, and it will continue. I can guarantee it. I hope that this speech and the information I have tantalized you with serves to spark interest in the mythology of cultures, of any culture, and its monsters. Keep in mind, this is one monster from one tribe in one area of America. So remember, next time you're heading out to the woods, bring friends and plenty of food, because they are not one and the same. And should you hear a cry amongst the trees, do not follow it. Death awaits for you at the hands of the ravenous Wendigo.